Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Okay, again, for anyone who arrived late, I'm not Ayyā Sudhamma. I am a guest of hers at Anenja Vihara in Germany. I'm Sudhamma, Bhikkhunī of the United States. And today I want to talk a little bit about being your own good friend. And I want to start with a Dhammapada verse. Excuse me, using my phone here. So this is Dhammapada verses number 42 and 43. A wrongly directed mind would do you more harm than a hater to the hated or an enemy to their foe. Diso disang yang tang kariya veri va pana verinan nijaha panihitang chittang papiyo nang tato kare. On the other hand, a rightly directed mind would do you more good than your mother or father or any other relative. Natang mata pita kariya anye va picha nyataka samma panihitang chittang seyasa nantato kare. Is it true? You know, the people who are on your side, your chosen family, or in the ancient text, they are assuming that your mother, father, and relatives are the people very most on your side than anyone else. And in this culture, that may not be held to be the case. So when the Buddha there is quoted as saying that about using mother, father, and relative it's kind of like intended to express a very high point of the maximum that another being would do for a being. And there are many of us who have the great blessing of parents and relatives who would do more for you than anyone in the world. And some others have never experienced anything like that. And it's other people, other beings, or maybe it's only their dog or cat that they could ever trust for anything. So just insert in there whomever it is that you actually feel like you can trust, whoever is a true benefactor and friend, who would never betray you but would always have your back. So the Buddha is saying your own well-directed mind is even a more powerful friend than the greatest friend that you have in the world. And that's, you put it that way, it's a little bit kind of sobering. Not to say that you should be selfish and self-seeking and just beings around you as though they have no value because they can't do something for you. I hope you're not imagining I'm saying something like that. But just in all beings, of all beings, it's your own mind that you really need to take care of in a manner of bringing wholesomeness to your own mind. So it's not that, okay, so it's clear here, a rightly directed mind would do you more good. So, please don't take it to be saying something like, other people aren't worth anything, so you just might as well be selfish. But rather that when your mind is directed in wholesome ways, directed towards the good, then the impact of that on you and on your world is, there's no comparison to that. And of all things you could ever wish for in your life, whatever will happen to you with that mind well directed is profoundly more than you could ever even hope for or think of for yourself. The rightly directed mind brings our behavior in line with goodness, and whatever we do in a manner that is brought with wholesomeness, but as the mind is developing more and more, being rightly directed, there is more skill. More skill brings more positive feedback. The positive feedback plus additional skill in wholesome states, it kind of cycles into better and better circumstances. Our speech, when the mind well directed, just imagine all the things you have ever said in your life that were regrettable. Imagine if you had never said anything regrettable, ever. No misconceptions of others' motives, no selfish or short-sighted comments, just only speaking with a wholesome, rightly directed mind. I imagine some friendships would still be intact that may have been lost over the years. In your whole life, you never cut anybody because your mind wasn't cutting, so your words didn't cut. And this rightly directed mind, imagine that you have a mind that would never, ever obsess in the wrong direction, would never, ever be tormented with hurtful thoughts, angry thoughts, cruel thoughts. I meet people who are tormented by their minds. I have been a person who was tormented by my mind. Today, if the mind wants to go into some place of torment for some reason or other, then there's a little agitation. Then I go, oh, there's that mind tormenting itself again. Oh, yeah, it does that. Okay. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Like, no big deal. It's just the mind being ridiculous again. But years and years of my life have been spent at the whims of a mind that could get caught up in hurtful thoughts, angry thoughts. Thoughts about how others should or should not have done this or that to me. Okay, that one can still come up, but not for hours and hours. People come to me who are tormented with, some of the worst of thoughts, and but if we just get a little bit of skill in directing the mind rightly, then we can avoid a whole lot of trouble. Imagine for a moment, just try to imagine, just go back into a meditation kind of state for a moment, and imagine that your mind was never in a evil, angry, mischief-making mode ever again. Imagine if your mind was incapable of thinking something cruel about yourself. Imagine if it was incapable of thinking something angry about other people. Imagine a mind that was just inherently chill and would leave that baseline only briefly and then go right back to chill. and not unfriendly cool, but chill as in just happy. Not trying to make any big claims here, but just imagine it. That first verse that I read, it's really quite sobering in a way. Bring it back up on the phone. A wrongly directed mind would do you more harm than a hater to the hated or an enemy to their foe. Have you ever had a friend who was down on themselves and you tried to talk to them? You tried to persuade them that they're a good person and they won't hear it? It's just so sad, isn't it? But haven't we ourselves done that to ourselves? There are really delightful people in this world. You know to have so much goodness in them. And yet there's this twist of mind where they cannot see it. Maybe you're one of these people. Maybe you've got so much goodness in you. But you also see a little bit the bad. And it looms large. And you fail to appreciate the beautiful qualities that you have, and you tear yourself down, cut yourself. Not everybody has this issue, but if you do, it's kind of the worst thing that can happen in a way. You know, there's nothing that can happen in this world. No torment to the body, at least in theory. Been through small torments, not big ones, we'll see. But I imagine there's no torment to the body or loss that can match a mind that hates itself. I think that's kind of the worst circumstance. To be fed or not fed, to have water or not have water, shelter or not have shelter, clothing or not clothing. People being kind or cruel, like all kinds of things in life can be quite, or the body hurting or not hurting. There's a lot that happens. You know, we have the 8 worldly conditions. Gain, loss, pain, pleasure, fame, disgrace, blame, and praise. We can get any kind of mixture of these, and even the worst of these can be endured if the mind is in a good place. But even the best of these don't create a world that can be endured if there's self-hate, self-cruelty, self-directed judgment, self-directed impatience. A wrongly directed mind would do you more harm than a hater to the hated or an enemy to their foe. So the Buddha talked quite a lot about wholesomeness and versus unwholesomeness of mind. And in step 6 of the Eightfold Path, we make right effort, and that's defined as effort to prevent unwholesome states, effort to overcome any unwholesome states that arise nonetheless, effort to develop wholesome states, and effort to maintain and perfect wholesome states, making them into a moment-to-moment habit, every moment waking habit. So these four aspects of wholesome states, two of overcoming unwholesome states, two of developing wholesome states. This is part of the whole project of enlarging our spiritual life, and it's actually quite critical, quite key. No matter what one's religion might be, I've taught about step 6 to people of various religions, and everyone seems to see something in it that brings them into a brighter, more visionary understanding of their spirituality. It's a marvelous thing that the Buddha gave us, a bit of step by step on how to bring the mind more in alignment with our understanding of heavenly values, heavenly ways of being. So first we need to know what are the unwholesome mental states and what are the wholesome mental states. I had a friend write down, I had a group one time brainstorm what are a list of wholesome states. And let me just see if I can bring up his typed up list. It was so. Okay, so here are some of the states: peace, patience, courage, uplift, love or metta, compassion, altruistic joy, even-mindedness or equanimity, mindfulness, charitableness, kindness, good energy, effort, truthfulness, determination, gladness, serenity, generosity, honesty, virtue, bliss, wisdom, saddha, faith or confidence, non-agitation, mercy, unselfishness, selflessness, self-restraint, being humble, thoughtful, reflective, discerning, attentive, curious, insightful, open-hearted, fair, respectful, mindful, understanding, keen, sensible, sensitive, dependable, unresentful, gentle, intuitive, calming, warm. We could probably add to this. So the basic gist of it comes down to any state that is rooted in non-greed, non-hate, or clarity, these are going to be wholesome states. Any states rooted in greed, hatred, delusion are going to be unwholesome. So this is how you can test it out for yourself, whether the mind is being directed into wholesome states or into unwholesome states. Again, if it's rooted in greed, hatred, delusion, unwholesome, akusala. If it's rooted in non-greed, non-hate, clarity, kusala, wholesome states. So the Buddha instructed us to actively prevent unwholesome states, overcome them, and develop the opposite. So there are endless ways that we can prevent unwholesome states. From, say, you start to feel like you might lose your temper, then you can leave the room. Count to 10. Go do a good deed. There's so many ways that we can prevent. I point out that prevention also means, not stirring up an argument. For example, your loved one, your partner is late to work, and you try to sit them down to talk about a controversial topic between you. Like that's really bad timing. Don't do that. Preventing unwholesome states Could also even involve, taking care of yourself well, eating appropriately, sleeping appropriately, resting, taking time for calming your mind, and getting exercise. Simple things like that can also go a long way. So basic self-care can help a lot with preventing unwholesome states. Of course, having wholesome friends, wholesome companions, is going to be absolutely crucial for avoiding unwholesome states. People who themselves are wrongly directed will drag us along, and they'll take us down probably faster than we'll take them up. So, have to be careful, who we're pulling into our inner circle, that will deeply influence our ways of thinking. In fact, science has come up with awareness of the mirror neurons in the brain, such that if the seminary sitting there is drinking a cup of tea, if you were to put a functional MRI on her brain and my brain at the same time, when I see her lift the cup, I will reproduce that action in my own brain. And so that we influence each other a lot that way. And then further, we are very social animals, so that we take in people's words and behavior and context, and we imagine, we intuit what they are thinking, and then we recreate in our own brains those pathways of what we think, intuit that they are thinking. So basically, we 3D print each other's brains. Now, I'm not saying the brain is the self or the brain is the mind. The brain is like a really good friend whispering in our ear, or a really bad friend whispering in our ear, telling us, direct your mind like this, direct your mind like that. So this is, what we're printing into our neurons in our brains is powerful and important. So preventing unwholesome states it definitely involves who we choose to be around. Overcoming unwholesome states is becoming aware of strategies that have worked for us in the past to overcome our unwholesome states. So first off, what unwholesome states are you vulnerable to? We're all vulnerable to just about any of them to some extent. We each have unwholesome states that we are particularly vulnerable to. So again, we probably could come across any of them under some extreme circumstances, but one person may have a really terrible time with greed, particularly greed for food, or greed for certain sounds, or greed for who knows what. We all have some a lot of greed. Some of us have a lot of ill will. I personally am very much a hater. I can find what's wrong in anyone and anything in a split second. Very hateful, angry mind when left to its own devices. That's my background. I'm very used to be. You could figure that out within seconds. Now you have to be around me usually for days before you realize how bad I really am. Which is a great victory. It used to take only less than a minute. You'd have me pegged as a hater. So that is good. So what is it that's your weak point? So for me, see, we each have kind of like a quicksand that we fall into. For me, if I'm thinking about what's wrong with this person, that is truly, truly evil space that I have fallen into, and it's so hard to get out of. But somebody else it might be their jealousy, sitting around thinking about how their loved one was getting, maybe acting in a way that they think is suspicious, or something. So they get caught in that swamp. Or somebody might be sitting down with a bag of Doritos potato chips and be unable to stop themselves. Know yourself. What unwholesome state do you know to be very dangerous for you? So whatever prevention we're doing and whatever overcoming we're doing, It is good if we recognize certain states as being absolutely not to be tolerated by oneself, because it's going to be so hard to get out of it. And it's going to cause oneself a lot of pain and a lot of damage. So whatever unwholesome states you've ever had, pay attention to what has helped you get out of them. Have that like a list in your own mind about whatever unwholesome states you fall deeply into. Be on it immediately. Like if you have a fire starting in a paper factory, you would get on it immediately. That quickly, get on it if the unwholesome state, that particular unwholesome state is coming up. My advice. Okay, so on the wholesome side, we develop wholesome states. I just read you a nice long list of beautiful wholesome states. Perhaps any one of those really resonated with you. Courage, patience, kindness, charitableness, non-greed, non-hate, mindfulness, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. Any of these easy for you? Metta is easy for you? Good, good, good. Okay, so whatever is for me, it's karuna, compassion. That is the easiest for me. People used to come up to me and say to me, oh, don't be angry about this or that. Just let it go. Because there are a lot of people in Buddhism that are really strong in equanimity. And I thought they were so mean. I hated them. Don't ever tell me just let it go. I will hate you. At least for a split second, I'll say, oh, I hate you. Think it. Yeah, don't tell a hater the advice that's great for the equanimity people. You know, don't say, oh, just let it go. It's not worth it. Mm-mm. But what I found was that I could have compassion for somebody in any circumstance, if only for, what I've gone through. I could have compassion for a being going through this circumstance that I've gone through. I could see that. So if nothing else, I could have compassion for this one. Not pity, but I could find some compassion. If I could find compassion for anybody anywhere, then compassion is what's on the table. Compassion is what is here. And then I could use that as a springboard for other wholesome states. Find your wholesome state and don't look down on it just because it's easy for you. People do that. Don't look down on it. Whatever you can do that's easy for you, do not look down on it. That's your power. Make it your superpower. Weaponize that against all your unwholesome states. If you can get into any wholesome state, in that instant, you are completely freed from all unwholesome states. For that instant, then have another split second of that wholesome state, and another, and another, and another, and build up this incredible fortress of a wholesome state that keeps all the unwholesome states away. If you find your superpower a wholesome state, develop it, make a habit of it, make it a basis of it, do it a lot. Then even your most treacherous unwholesome state cannot stand up to it. And you can develop wholesome states. You can stay with wholesome states. You can live day by day by day doing just wholesome states. It's really doable. This is not a hard part of the Buddhist path. Step by step doing it step by step makes it easy. And is this a rightly directed mind? I think so. Rightly directed, of course, includes the entire Eightfold Path. But I see some questions. Next one question coming up in the chat. A rightly directed mind is going to be a mind that's working the entire Eightfold Path. I think if we just even get down step 6, if we at least have the right understanding, the right samadhi, understanding about karma being real, that what we do matters, that's enough to make good effort. At least just that. And then we can start working with this business of step 6. We can have a clear enough mind with step 6 that everything else can start to make sense of spiritual life, spiritual living. Is judgmentalism an unwholesome state? I think it must be uncomfortable to pass judgment on others. For example, calling someone a hypocrite. I think it's all a context sort of thing, really. You yourself could tell me whether your state is unwholesome, but I could only guess or intuit whether your state is unwholesome. There are many actions out there that could be undertaken with a wholesome mind or an unwholesome mind. The actions themselves could go either way. So if someone were to do a terrible thing, then I might judge that was something that was unwholesome. I might judge that is going to bring harm to others, so I might judge. Judgmentalism suggests a habit of judging, like a fault-finding mind, and that's an extremely unwholesome state. That would be kind of in the hating, kind of being a hater. So it must be uncomfortable to pass judgment on others, for example, calling someone a hypocrite. I don't know. I mean, there are people out there who, let's say there's a political situation where somebody does something that's extremely hypocritical, and then someone rightly, correctly, without hate in their mind, says that thing that you did was hypocritical. So it may come with wholesome mind, it may come with unwholesome mind, but it's up to you to know your own mind, your own heart. Where am I coming from? More than defining by the actions. Now, there are 10 unwholesome actions the Buddha mentioned that are always going to be unwholesome. So there are let's see, what is it? The 10 unwholesome deeds are killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, usually in terms of harming others. Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and 4 on speech. Malicious speech, false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, useless speech. And then 3 others, what is it, greed? Is it not greed, hate, delusion? It's greediness, ill will, and wrong view. Greed, ill will, wrong view. So these 10 unwholesome states are always, these actions and states are always unwholesome. Beyond that, it's really a matter of assessing, whether it's actually with unwholesome mind or not. I don't think I'm great with metta, but I am good at non-hate. A fine distinction there. That's an important distinction because that's you're an equanimity person. So yeah, sometimes people, in describing the Eightfold Path, do a little bit of a shortcut with the second step of the Eightfold Path. It's this right thought or right intention, sammasankappa. And it is defined in 3 aspects, nekama, samkappa, abhyapada sankappa, and ahimsa sankappa. Renunciation, non-hate and non-cruelty. But non-hate and non-cruelty are so completely uninspiring as a description of what to do. But people kind of shortcut it into metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion. But there is that little place in between where it is, it's not ill will, but it's not exactly metta either. It's this neutral state. And that neutral state is also included as one of those aspects that we can develop as part of step 2 of the Eightfold Path of right intention or right thought. Edification, thank you, that's another one. Dear Venerable, in listening to Dhamma, does one have wholesome states of mind at that time? Also, how often should one do silanusati, in your opinion? You may or may not have wholesome states when you're listening to Dhamma. If you're listening to Dhamma and all you're thinking about is, I wish this person had a different voice. I wish this person would talk more about this. I wish this person would shut the heck up. Like, this is not wholesome. You're not having wholesome states. If you're listening to Dhamma and your mind is wrapped and uplifted and the true Dhamma is being taught and you're absorbing true Dhamma, well, yes, of course, that would be wholesome, but no guarantee. You could be sitting there resenting somebody who is snoring And you may not have a wholesome state at all. You might be resenting that the room is too hot or too cold or anything else. There's no guarantee that hearing Dhamma is going to mean that your mind is wholesome. If you're truly taking in the Dhamma, yes, of course it would be, I suppose. How often should one do Silanusati, in your opinion? I think you should do it as often as it is supportive to wholesome states and your practice. So one should always have in mind, Sila is virtue, harmlessness in your behavior. And the nusati part of the word is about reflecting on. So if you're talking about it as a meditation, some people sit down and do Sila Nusati as a whole meditation. How often? I have no idea. I don't know what would be supportive to you in your practice. How often should you do it just in a casual sense of being aware of your virtue all the time? All the time. You need to know the goodness of your behavior. If you want a guideline, Sud, on Sila Nusati, look at the Buddha's advice to Rahula at the Mango Stone, the Ambalataka Rahulavada Sutta. It's in the middle length discourses somewhere. So advice to Rahula at the Mango Stone. That is the one where he really spelled out about paying attention to your behavior, whether it's wholesome or unwholesome, before you're undertaking the action of body, speech, or mind. While you're undertaking it, still being sensitive to whether you're doing something wholesome or not. And then after, reflect on it and be, again, where was that as wholesome as I had thought? Was I fooling myself? Or is that wholesome? If it's wholesome, then continue on, happy and glad, developing oneself in wholesome states. But if not, you deal with that. So it's a really great guideline there on constantly doing more casual Sila Nusati. But for sitting down and doing Sila Nusati meditation, I have no idea. It would depend on you. Okay, so it was pointed out by a person here that, there are wholesome states or unwholesome states. We let go of the unwholesome states, but eventually even the wholesome states we let go. We let go of all of them all along, in the sense of clinging to anything kind of sours it, turns it different. But we let go of them in a different way with going into deeper meditation states. And then as people have breakthroughs in the Dhamma, then we are letting go in a much more profound sense. So there's three different levels in which we are letting go of wholesome states. One, that clinging to anything is not going to be very helpful. Two, that in deeper meditation, even wholesome thoughts are dropped for the meditation. And then three, when a person attains to a certain stage, would it be that there is no, I think it has to be full arahant, to where there's no more, no more good karma generated. So you've gone kind of beyond wholesome and unwholesome in that sense. In another sense, though, it's just all wholesome all the time. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. There's a teacher in Thailand who many say is an arahant. Can a Bhante who smokes cigarettes? The question's not finished there, but I take it to mean, can someone be an arahant and smoke cigarettes? Well, I am not an arahant. And there's someone in the world who is thought to be an arahant who is smoking cigarettes. So that's maybe that Bhante knows something that I don't know. However, there are habits that a person may have developed. Don't take this too far, but cigarettes in particular, I'm told that when someone is very hungry, that the cigarettes can take away the feeling of hunger. And so it has happened that particularly some monks who are living completely on alms, they go hungry sometimes, and then the cigarettes can be kind of an assist to them, even though it's extremely damaging to the body. When you're smoking a cigarette, you don't have the mind state of, I will damage my body. right? You're having a relief from the craving for the cigarette, the physical craving for the cigarette. It's a pretty strong addiction. I think it's possible that somebody could be free of greed, hate, delusion, and still be fulfilling the body's craving for the cigarette. I think it's theoretically possible. I cannot speak on a particular Bhante. I think there are a whole lot more people in the world who are believed to be arahants and who say they are arahants than are actually arahants. And there probably are some very quiet arahants out there that you would never know because they're too quiet. They don't go around saying that they're an arahant. Nobody knows to go around claiming that they're an arahant. Who knows? They might be so clever that they pretend to have anger just so you leave them alone. Pretend to have greed, pretend to have anger, so you don't know that they're an arahant, and then come in great crowds and disturb their peace. They certainly wouldn't care about having loads of people worshiping them. So anyone out there who wants people to worship them, I'd be very, very, very cautious of thinking that person is an arahant. Somebody who is clearly greedy, someone who's clearly aversive, someone who's sketchy and flirting behavior, be very cautious of thinking they're an arahant. Someone who promotes their own name, promotes their brand, I'd be very, very cautious about. But someone who smokes, who knows? Maybe. I don't see that as automatically a disqualifier. Now, if they are given all the information that the scientists have today about how much the cigarettes hurt their body and how the secondhand smoke hurt their people around them, and they understand all of that, and continue to, it could be that then they would say, oh, even though the body wants this, and the body right now functions better with this, still it would be better if I give it up because of how it harms this body and harms the bodies of my people. And so in that case, I could see where they might then choose to do that, to give that up. But just some old monk, sitting around smoking their cigarettes, he might be perfectly at peace. Who can know? Let's see, question. Sharing of merits is only possible to beings in ghost realm or pettas. How about hell beings? Is it possible? Yeah, we have some traditions around the sharing of the merits, meaning wishing that the goodness of what we have done, the power of what we have done, be shared with other beings. And the logic within the tradition is that the beings that are in a ghost realm might be able to might hear that they are being spoken of. They might be called to you, and then hear you, honoring them, and hear you sharing these merits with them. And because they hear you sharing the merits with them, they have a joyous feeling, and that joyous feeling is not in harmony with the ghost condition. So then they would rise out of that ghost condition. So that is kind of this logic of the sharing of merits. But could it be shared with hell beings? I think there's something else there. There was, I've heard of some unusual circumstances of someone over here sharing merits with a live person who's some distance away, and that person being pulled out of a painful, self-hurting state. And so I think there's some amazing things that can happen when we focus our attention in a beautiful way. That is not exactly the traditional idea of sharing merits. This world is a little bigger and a little stranger than we know it to be, and I think it's quite possible that sending love and prayers to people, even living people, can have some impact. Whether it does or not, it's certainly on the one who is doing the loving sharing of merits and sending prayers and well-wishing and so forth. They themselves are quite uplifted. So I don't see harm in it. I think it's possible that it could reach people, perhaps even in a hell realm. I don't know. I don't say it's impossible. I stayed in this Vietnamese monastery one time, a Pure Land monastery, where they had an enormous bell. And every day for about half an hour, they would go out and they'd ring that bell, and they would recite passages to wish relief for the hell beings. And their belief is that hell beings would be released from hell for that short period of time. And I didn't particularly believe that it was effective, but I thought, what a beautiful thing to do. Every day they're out there ringing that bell and chanting for half an hour. Now I feel imposed upon enough that I feed a colony of cats, 2 streets over from me. And it takes about 10, 15 minutes to walk down there, feed the cats, and come back. And I do it every day because I don't want them to be hungry. Can you imagine if you really believe that they're hell beings that are dependent on you for a few minutes of relief, and you do it faithfully every day? Half an hour. What a beautiful thing to do. What an incredible self-sacrificing thing to do. Does it actually reach them? I kind of doubt, but I don't know. And I think that the doing of it is a beautiful, wholesome thing.